Welcome you all to the First Friday Entrepreneurship Call with K-State Research and Extension. The purpose of these calls is to increase the local community's knowledge about the experts, education, and economic resources that are available to help small businesses and entrepreneurs and the towns that love them. We encourage partner sharing after the presentation. And so if there's anything you need to look up to have it to share afterwards, why, please get that ready. We want to learn from each other. That's how mentoring works, right, Ron?
That's right.
So today we have today's speaker is Simple Steps for Starting Your Small Business and Other SCORE Helps. And Ron Lunsford is with us. He's a certified mentor and the program chair of this program. So Ron, take it away.
Well, a little correction. I'm the workshop chair for the Wichita chapter. A little bit about SCORE. SCORE is a national organization formed back in 1964. We've helped over 11 million businesses with their business operations during that time. More recently, in 2020, we helped, we recognize 34,000 new businesses recognized that they got SCORE help. Of those, we got another 67,000 that were non-owners. So it's been that was in 2020. We just finished our fiscal year. We're on the same fiscal year as the federal government. We are a resource partner for SBA and get some funding from the SBA. SCORE has over over 10,000 is the claim. The last number I saw was close to 13,000 volunteers. Each of us give our time, our thoughts, our energy to helping new people get started in business or improve an existing business. If you're interested in becoming a mentor, please let us know. For the program today, we're talking about simple steps. I'm going to share my screen. Hello.
Saying it now.
Simple steps for starting your business. This is the first of 5 modules. We're talking about startup basics today. Doesn't want to advance. There we go. Wichita SCORE connections. You can find us on the web at wichita.score.org, or if you're looking on Facebook, and we encourage you to like and follow us on Facebook at SCORE Wichita. There's we had 2 telephone numbers. This 239-1131 is the main contact now. Really want to point out that our mentoring services are free for as long and as frequently as you desire. Please call for an appointment as we're not manning the desk during the COVID situation. SCORE is made up of successful, experienced executives. And as I stress again, we're volunteers. Our services are free. We conduct seminars, workshops. We provide free mentoring. We've been doing email and phone and virtual, such as Zoom, and hope to get back to where we can do face-to-face. First off, let's talk about the myths and realities of entrepreneurship, then get into critical success factors, getting to know your options, components of business ownership, making it legal, funding, cash management, and business plan basics. That's a lot to cover, and we'll get going. Simple steps is a 5-module program. We're looking at startup basics today. You will get a link so that you can go on into the other modules. You can take them in any order. You don't have to complete them all, but the outcome of after you've decided on funding sources is whether you get a go or no go decision based on your financials, what you put together, or decide by working with a mentor of some different steps. We will work with you, help you build your business plan. If it doesn't seem to fit, we may suggest alternate product uses, alternate markets, ways to improve your profitability. And if you want to put a little bit of information in the chat feature, that'll capture it for us. I have asked Nancy to provide a list of those that have registered. We will be adding your name to the SCORE database. You'll get a survey form in about 24 hours asking if the program benefited you and if you could use a mentor. If you're not interested, you can always opt out of any future communications. Myth number 1, all I need is a good idea to be a successful entrepreneur. As we were talking earlier, you're driving down the street and you see a nice location, maybe it's an empty building. This would be a good location for such and such. 2 months later, you drive by, somebody else has that same idea and have implemented it. Keep an eye on it. Maybe you had an excellent idea and just didn't have the chance to pull the trigger. Myth number 2, if you go out on your own, you won't have to work so hard for such long hours. I could ask a couple of the people in business if that's true, but I already know from talking to many clients, instead of 40 hours a week, 50, 60, sometimes 65 hours a week to get the business done. There just seems like there's so many hats to wear and so many things to do. Oh, myth number 3, you'll be able to deduct everything, so you won't have to pay taxes. We're all US citizens, most of us anyway, and we will pay taxes and pay taxes and pay taxes. You can deduct business expense and so reduce the amount of taxes your business pays, but it's a myth to say you can deduct everything. Myth 4, if you work independently, you don't have to report to a boss. Again, I could ask existing business people, do you have a boss? If they've got employees, yep, those employees have ideas about how to run the business. If you've got vendors, yep, the vendors have some ideas on how you should run your business. If you've got friends, family, investors, they definitely have some ideas as to how you should improve your business or how to run a business. And finally, customers. Customers are king. Customers are always right. Or I don't know whether I know this customer. You're going to try to help them solve their problem. And that's why they tend to be helpful in giving advice. Maybe not always the best. Myth number 5, business owners get to do the work they want to do and only when they find it interesting. Well, that can be true. If you don't want to do payroll, hire it done. Let somebody else take care, who's good at it, take care of keeping track of withholding taxes, making quarterly reports, getting the employees W-2s out to them, so on and so forth. Myth 6, if you choose to be self-employed, you'll be limited in what you can achieve. Well, you're not limited, except the sky's the limit, what you're willing to do. Remember, when you take on a business responsibility, frequently it will become like a member of the family, like a hungry kid sometimes. And you're going to have to keep in mind that business as well as taking care of your family. These statistics are a little old, but for percentage of new businesses with 2 or more employees, you can see 3/4 of the people are successful. Jump in ahead a year. Again, looking at 2+ employees in a company, a few more have failed. We're now at about 3/5. And after 5 years, 2 employees, only half of them have remained successful. Our point is, if you do a business plan, it can be very helpful. It can help you guide your steps, help you make your decisions through the way. And that's the way to make your efforts more productive. Some of the critical success factors for business: good choice of time and location, adequate capital. You can read them. Strong work ethic. Are you effective in your time management? Willing to ask for input from others. Know your options. There are different types of, have to move a bar here. Starting a new business, you've got the advantage. It's a green field. You can make it anything you want. It may cost you a little more. You're not hampered by any previous image or technologies. You get to choose location, name, logo, relationships. You can explore new markets and direction. I will say any business involves some risk, and the more changes that you take on, the more risk you're taking on. But you can see your dreams come true. The disadvantages: you've got no base. You're going to build all new. So you may make a few mistakes. Work with the SCORE people, work with advisors. We'll talk about some other people that should be on your management team at the end or later, but help. If you're going to go for a new business, get help. Look at ways of reducing the risk instead of taking on more. With a new business, you've got no track record. You may have some difficulty in financing. Some lenders say, yes, we'll loan to small business startups. Show us 2 years successful history and we'll consider your application. Makes it kind of tough. See your dream become a nightmare. Yep. If things go a little, and things will go wrong, if you can't anticipate them and work with them, it can become a nightmare. Buying a business. And this is one that I like to encourage people to do as part of their market research. Look to see if there's an existing business similar to what you're wanting to start. And if the owner is getting up in age, like quite a few of us, you might be able to talk that owner into saying, going on for 2 years with an option to purchase, or to purchase and the owner stay and provide his expertise or her expertise to keep that business rolling, so that he knows he's handing it off to a good, well-trained individual. The advantages of buying a business: of course, you've got an established clientele, you've got suppliers in place, you've got an established location, people know where to find you. It may have been 5 years ago that they used your services and they remembered, come back to see you. You have a known quantity. You've got a proven formula business name. The owner can sometimes help in starting and running the business. You have actual records, both profit and loss, as well as income tax filings that you can use, and it makes it easier to obtain financing. If there's, but the best financing, if you can do it, will be the getting the owner to carry the note. Maybe it would be to his tax advantage to have a 5-year purchase agreement, and you pay 20% per year, and then he doesn't have a full tax hit from the outright purchase. Disadvantages, there can be hidden issues. He can be on somebody's bad list. You can have existing debts that haven't been taken care of. You can have poor reputation, business reputation, and you're going to have to overcome that. Some people may be loyal to the owner. And a big one, in my opinion, is inventory. You want to have a thorough inventory, preferably probably have a third party go through and evaluate it. I had a client one time who wanted to buy an HVAC company in Arkansas, had it all set, had withdrawn her funds from her IRAs, and had a meeting the next day with the lawyers to sign the paperwork. And they got hung up about $300,000 worth of inventory that had been there for over 5 years. And an affidavit from the owner saying that the salespeople were staying, and an interview with the sales manager saying they were all leaving. So things aren't always as they seem. And the other disadvantage is just because he's been successful or she's been successful, that success may not continue. Buying a franchise. FranNet is also an SBA resource. They've got a couple people in the Kansas City area and offers some good ideas. You're welcome to get a hold of them, frannet.org, and explore whether the franchise is something that you want to do. It is not all fast food. Franchise has advantages in terms, they've got a proven model. They've got training. They've got people you can talk to when you have problems. You can talk to other franchisees and get help. If they're successful in doing something, maybe you can implement that. You do have the disadvantage, you're not always your own boss. Franchise usually comes with royalties and other fees. The royalty helps pay for the continuation of the franchise. Fees may be onerous. You have to read the disclosure agreement to understand. Operational boundaries may exist, and you may have limited choices as to where you are. I was talking to one individual. They were talking about a particular barbershop, hair salon, and with the new franchise, the owner had to open at least 3 stores during the first year. That was the way they wanted to grow. It is a binding contract, and franchisors' problems can become your problems. A friend of mine offered cabinet improvements, and he noticed that the owner wasn't putting money back into the business. And he wanted to make some software improvements, do some new exciting things in business. And when he asked the owner about it, owner said he just sold the company to somebody else. The sad part was when he sold the company, the buyer had in mind that they were going to use it as a cash cow, and they were going to use the funds to improve other businesses. So he ended up going out on his own. Fortunately, it was at the end of his 10-year contract. Home-based businesses, great ideas, convenient work location, stay in your jammies. It's less expensive, it's really easy, and you can do tax advantages. You take the square feet of your office or business as a percentage of the total home, and then you can use that to allocate some of your expenses like utilities and things like that. The disadvantage is some homeowners and some cities have zoning restrictions. Having a having a UPS or FedEx drive up every 15, 20 minutes might not be received well in your home area. There is an isolation from others. So if you need social interconnection, home-based business may not work for you. Family distractions. Hey, you're right there and kid is sick and you need to take care of both. It's sometimes a little hard. And the IRS has kind of gotten wise to seeing that these are sometimes not true businesses. They don't do well. And so they can ask you to prove that it is an ongoing business. Nonprofit. We have a wonderful organization in Wichita. It's actually Kansas nonprofit. And they can help if you've got interest in that. The executive director is also a SCORE member and a wonderful person to work with. The advantage of nonprofit is it allows the operation in a not-for-profit status. There are no owners. You cannot get the money back out. You may qualify for government foundation grants. You must give some consideration for protection of liability for directors and employees, which means you're working with the insurance company to protect them. And you're able to pay salaries to employees and consulting fees to contractors, but the directors get no money unless they're actually doing an employee type service. The disadvantage, the 501c3 organizations focus on educational. There are a few other charitable 501 organizations, and they cannot profit those who created the organization. All profits remain in the organization. You must apply and qualify for the 501c3 status or sales tax, the state sales tax exemption. IRS handles the 501c3 application. It's not automatic. It may take a couple months before you can qualify. Online business, probably the simplest, easiest way. You have very low startup costs, expanded geographic reach, World Wide Web, all over the world. You have the convenience and accessibility. You've got lots of flexibility. The disadvantage is when you put out an item for sale, you may get 0.1% of people even click in to look at it. There are very low barriers to entry, so there's high competition. You must, in your offer, set the visitor's expectations. What are they looking at? What is their product like? What kind of specifications? What kind of packaging? What kind of return return will you allow? And you have no personal contact and very limited sensory information other than an irate customer to judge how you're doing. Entrepreneur characteristics, probably the reason you're all here. Look at that list. If you can look down the list and say, hey, I fit all of those or most of them. Small business entrepreneurship could be for you. I will stress the final item, supportive family. Don't go into a small business unless you've got full support of the family. Johnny comes up 1st of February and says, Dad, where are we going on our spring break? And Dad says, I haven't got anybody to work for me. I'm not going, but you can go. And that's a heartbreaker. How many hats will you wear? How many hats can you wear? A small business entrepreneur can wear all of these. It can be the administrative function. If you don't like administrative, have somebody else help you out in that area. Same goes for accounting, human resources, marketing, so on and so forth. Be good, be strong in some, and do the ones that you enjoy. Figure out the ones that you don't want to do, and get those capabilities, those skills available to help you. In marketing, that's the strategy to create a desire to purchase. It also helps create your company image. It has to do with logos, trademarks, things like that. Anything you do to get and keep a customer. And your product or service will not sell itself. You have to be passionate and explain that to the customer to close the sale. Sales, part of marketing. Lots of customer contact work. In fact, if you're, whether you've got a storefront or you're out selling online product, you want to be able to make contact with customers and develop a rapport with them. Finding new prospects, making presentations, closing deals, processing orders. And they forgot a dot here. I put it on do not disturb and it didn't work. They forgot one bullet here, and then that is taking the money. Product and or service. What is your offering? What are you providing the customer in terms of satisfying a particular need? Are you solving a pain? Why do they need it? Who needs it? How do you identify those people? How is it different or better than the competition? What is your unique selling proposition? Is your quality so much better? How do you differentiate from who's out there in the market? Position has to do with where are you located in the market? Location is real estate. Some say McDonald's doesn't identify as being in the fast food business. They recognize that they're in high traffic real estate so that they can get people in, buy the product, and out. What is your niche or target market? Who are the competitors? Are they close by? Are you into the same market with them? What kind of distribution will you have, and what kind of merchandising will your products handle? Branding, more marketing. Name recognition. How do you qualify the product? What is your market identity? How there are any number of ones that are easy to identify because they've devoted the time and money, effort to establishing a logo so that they're easily recognized. And in advertising, how are you going to promote your product and get it to the right people who will buy from you? Pricing, how will you price? Are you going to do pricing on a cost plus basis? In other words, you know what your product's going to cost, you know what your expenses are, and you estimate the volume, and you turn around and you say, this product must price out at such and such level. Or are we going to use just 2 times cost and hope that that's close? What are the customers' reactions going to be to your pricing? I know when I walk in and look at the store and I think, can I get this product for half of what they're listing it? If so, to me, that seems like it's a pretty good value. Who are the competitors? Are they close by? Have they saturated the market? Also, are you going to be offering credit terms? Will there be a discount? What is your return policy? In competition, you should know your competition. And that's part of the exercise in getting your business plan pulled together. You analyze the competition for these items, and you figure out where you can compete and where you don't. Had a couple clients that were interested in opening a specialty family games place. So they made personal visits and observation. They wanted to sell hamburgers, and so they visited who they had. The five competitors went out, sat and watched average sale, how many customers came in an hour, and they soon had a very good idea of what their business might do. Making it legal. This is a very good website, in my opinion, ksbiz.kansas.gov. It has, the landing page has a small business wizard, actually 2 of them, and it can be very helpful if you've got questions about things of the Secretary of State, business licenses, how do I renew my business status, all sorts of good things. You just kind of have to wander through it. If you have questions, send them to me. I'll be glad to help you find the way. In Kansas, we recognize these business structures. Sole proprietorship. You decide to go in business for yourself, and you tell the state of Kansas you're selling, so that they can set up a nice little spreadsheet and say, we need to know how much revenue you have each quarter, and have you deposited your sales tax. Partnerships. LLC is a very popular one. C Corp is the conventional. S is a subchapter. And I think we get a little bit more of those. In terms of sole proprietorship, keep it simple. If liability or taxation is a concern, consider the LLC or S Corp. When you're in any of the businesses, do give consideration to insurance. This is a long list. I'll focus on the liability. I recall a statistic back in 1972. They said the U.S. graduated the same number of attorneys as they did engineers. And based on my observation of TV and other advertising, we've got a heck of a lot of attorneys out there looking for business. If you've got a business, but if you're living somewhere, if you're driving, you've got insurance on your vehicle, unless you can post the mandatory amount with, as a bond. Work with your insurance agent, your broker, to decide how much insurance you need, and also that 4th bullet, talk to him about umbrella liability. That has to do with basic policy on your home, on your car, and on your business, and then an overarching umbrella of liability insurance that would back up any of the basics. If you're using a motor vehicle for business, ask the question, is it covered when you're out using it for business purposes? Some insurance companies will not. If you've got employees, you've got workers' comp to consider. Health. As a key owner in a business, you can get business life insurance or owner's life insurance and deduct that as part of your business expense. Also, you may want to give consideration to business interruption. We don't have the floods, the hurricanes, and things like they have down on the Gulf Coast, but we do have tornadoes. And who pays the bills when the tornado comes through, or a flood comes through and interrupts your business? Government regulations, pain in the neck for some of us, but that's the environment we're in. Business licenses and approvals, the labor laws, immigration laws, all of those you need to be familiar with. The KS Biz website I mentioned earlier helps you if you're in the state of Kansas. Every business owner needs, and this is an acronym that popped up about 4 years ago. BAIL, banker, or loan manager, accountant or bookkeeper, I for insurance agent or broker, an L for lawyer or an attorney. You don't necessarily have to have a lawyer on retainer, but you should get in and get to know somebody as you're forming your business. He may have some ideas, she may have some ideas on how to better organize your business. Might even be a good person to review your lease documents. And of course, put a little plug in for business mentors. We're free and we'd be glad to help you. Funding and cash management. We're looking at your family situation right now. As you get ready to start looking at starting a business, look at your family expenses. What's your total monthly cost of living? What can you cut back? If you've got outstanding debt, can you pay some of that down? What have you got in savings? And you're going to want something on the order of a total amount for your personal situation to cover 6 to 12 months of expenses. Businesses, small businesses seldom are profitable from day one, and frequently take 3, 4, 5 months to begin showing a profit. So that's you're going to have to carry your own personal expenses until that business is profitable and you can receive. Essential considerations for startups. This list should be comprehensive. Think about all of the things that you need to start a business. If you're doing storefront, what kind of tools and equipment are you going to need? What kind of leasehold improvements will you want? What can you negotiate so that the property owner provides those and lets you save your hard earned cash to take care of working capital needs and things like that, and maybe pay a little higher rent. In terms of leasehold improvements, how about parking? You're going to have lots of people coming in. You need to make it easy for them to get in to see you. What kind of licenses, permits does the state require? Does the county require? Does the city require? Need to check those out. What kind of professional fees might you in turn? Will you have insurance that you're going to have to pay down to start with? If you got a storefront, you're going to have inventory. So how much inventory are you going to bring in? And when are you going to have to pay for it? Also, what kind of working capital reserve are you going to keep on hand? Now we get into the day-to-day operations. Will you have salaries? Obviously, you probably have rent unless you're, well, even at home business, you've got a little bit of rent. We already touched some on insurance, taxes, fees. We recommend that you set up a separate bank account for your business, and you could even have a sub-account for anything that is tax related. It is awful hard when April 13 pops up and it says so much money is due on April 15th. And if you haven't got it in the bank, it's a problem. How much advertising will you be doing? Will there be payment on loan as far as interest and principal? I will point out that most lenders have a little leeway in terms of negotiation. And each loan negotiation is a little different. Think about, if my business is not profitable for the first 3 to 5 months, can I get him to just take the interest or even defer the interest until my 6th month when I'm showing a profit? There's logic there. Explore it. Some utilities require deposits and ongoing. Last thing you want is for the lights to go out when you've got customers in the store. Also, what kind of maintenance might be required? Two different sources of capital. Equity is what you bring to the market. It's from your what you bring to the business. Personal savings, family and friends help contribute. If you have to get a partner, their contributions. I'll digress briefly. Anytime you consider a partner, create a partnership agreement. It can be very simple. Most important is the last paragraph. It says, if the partners disagree, here's how the things are going to be split up. You may not want to do it on a dollar for dollar basis. One partner may bring a lot of money in and want the lion's share of the equity back out. The other one may provide all the working hours, all the effort, blood, sweat, and tears, and feels he should be compensated. So it's much easier to negotiate, if you will, a partner agreement up front as to who gets what. Also, profits that are retained in the business are owner's equity. Debt does not signify ownership. They don't have a say in your business. It can be banks, credit unions. Well, if you've got a loan, you're going to have to respond in terms of the loans. Note that several of these are starred with usually guaranteed by the SBA. SBA offers a loan guarantee until recently with the COVID type businesses. And so you go to the lender and you ask for a loan and it's not quite perfect. Maybe your FICO scores close to the 700 that they like, but they would feel more comfortable. Maybe it's a brand new business. Maybe there are any number of reasons that the bank would say, we don't want to tie up all our capital with this small business loan. The bank, the loan, the credit union goes over to the SBA with your business plan and said, hey, I'm looking for a microloan, looking for a loan up to 350,000, and I'd like to have an SBA guarantee. And it can be 75%, 80%. Some may go as high as 90%. You will pay 1.5% to 2% above the best lending rate that the bank or credit union has. And I think that's currently running at about 8%. That becomes your, and you paid for that every month. Should the loan default, the lender's going to come after you as the borrower and grab all the collateral, things like that that have been pledged against the loan and liquidate it. He may only get 10 cents on the dollar, but it's whatever he can get for it. He gets what he can, and then he goes to the SBA and says, I've got a non-performing asset and I need to call on this one. The SBA pays them. Say you wanted to borrow 200,000, the bank says, all right, you're going to provide 20%, therefore your loan will be 160,000. And they go to the SBA for a guarantee, and they're going to provide 80%. So 140,000, something like that. You paid down on the loan, and you get it to the point where it's all you can do. Then the bank goes back and says, we've got the non-performing asset. The balance, SBA balance is now 120,000. They will get the 120,000. The bank will get the 120,000 from the SBA. And the bank is going to continue to look for you to make good on your loan. The SBA is not in the business of losing money. So those fees have been adequate throughout time to maintain the SBA as a revenue neutral as far as the federal government goes. You can do express microloans and SCAD, South Central Kansas Economic Development District, serves the Wichita area. sckedd.org, and their business loans are set by federal law. Credit cards, we do not recommend them. I've had a couple clients use them. The credit cards usually have high rates of interest. I'm not, I've got one or two that keep sending me notices saying, we'd like to have your business, but it's a 25% if you don't pay on time. Now let's jump into lender's view. They're going to use the 5 or 6 C's of credit. First 4 are identified up there. What's your character? What's your commitment to the loan? Is your credit rating above 700? If not, I highly recommend that you do what you can to get it in a much better position before you go talk to the lender. Cash flow. Will this loan flow positive cash, and when? When can you start paying on the principal and interest? What kind of collateral are you pledging? What kind of capital do you have access to? As a small business person, what is your industry knowledge? Are you an expert, or I like the example of a young man walks in, says he'd like to open a restaurant. He's got 2 months experience on the front desk at McDonald's. About the best thing I can tell him is go back for a couple of years and get more experience, especially in the management area. What kind of personal investment are you providing? What's your financial history? They're going to want to look at the last 3 years of your tax returns to see how you conduct business. Are your financial projections realistic? We strongly recommend that when it comes to capital items, the initial investment, you figure all of it out, itemize, and maybe add a 20% contingency, and mark it as contingency. You don't want to use it, but it's there if you need it. On revenue, maybe you'll decrease that by what you think is your best revenue by 10%. And as far as expenses, add enough contingency that so things don't go quite right, you can cover it. What are your management skills as far as the business? Also, what's the competition? You may have the greatest idea, but if there's 20 other businesses in the immediate area, it may be tough to get market share. Cash is the most important asset. Earlier, I said, open a separate bank account for your business. Most banks, financial institutions, want you to have an EIN number, an employer identification number. And you can get that just right when you start your business. It used to be on the IRS, or excuse me, it used to be on the KSBiz website, but now you just go to irs.gov and say something about EIN, and it'll pop up the form to fill out. When you get government forms, my recommendation is that you print them out, then go over and use a pencil to fill it in, following the instructions online. When you're happy with it, then you can use the draft to fill out the online form. It saves some headaches because sometimes several of the blocks sound very similar to what you're thinking, and you find out later they're not. Deposit every receipt intact, and use a petty cash fund if you need one. Separate sales tax receipts on your books. That's not your money. That belongs to the state or city or county. And hang on to cash as long as possible. There are a number of things that you can do. Talk to your vendors to see if instead of 30 days, they give you longer terms, just starting out. Say, yes, you could see going to 30 days once you're profitable, but you need a little bit of help getting started. Reconcile that bank account monthly. Actually, most small business owners have a feel for how do we do this week? And if we didn't have revenue such and such level, we're not going to make it. We need to do things to cut costs. Have adequate cash and a reserve fund at the start of your business. It's much easier when you walk in and talk to the loan officer and say, I'd like to borrow 100,000, but I need 80 to start the business, and I'd like a line of credit or a reserve fund of 20 in case I run into problems. He or she will respect you a lot more for not coming back hat in hand after you've asked for 80 and say you need 20 more. Nobody likes that. Prepare and maintain a cash forecast for at least 6 months into the future. We highly recommend that you do your cash flow and also your profit and loss statements month by month for the first year, quarter by quarter, the second year, and a third year in total. And as you finish a year, take the actual and compare it to your month that you had in your budget, see how you did, and then roll in a 13th month into your budget, so you still keep the 12-month budget. We'll skip this, and I'll be glad to send you a copy of this. It has to do with self-readiness, an assessment as to whether you're ready to get into business. If you identify areas that you're not quite ready on, you can work on those. If you're doing very well in some areas, then look to the weakness areas. Business plan, and we've got about 10 slides to go. The business plan is important. It encourages objective view. It becomes a foundation for your business planning. It can be a very powerful management tool. You can use it to communicate to family and friends as to getting their buy-in, getting their help, and maybe some of their financing. It communicates your ideas as owner. It can be helpful talking to new employees as to explaining what's going on. Contents, this is your traditional one. We talk about executive summary, section 1's a business, financial forecast, and supporting data. We highly recommend that you do the exec summary at the end. You're going to want to use numbers that you only have when you get done with your financial forecast. How much money do you need to borrow and for how long? How much can you pay each month? Section 1 talks about business, the operations. How are you going to do business? How are you making money? How are you marketing? Things like that. Section 3 has supporting data. Anything, and there may be a short resume summary of your business experience in the business area, but there's an opportunity to provide your full resume in supporting data. If you've got some sketches as to how you think your storefront's going to be organized, you can put those in supporting or appendix. If you've got partners that are coming into the business, going to invest in it, you also want to include some of that. Executive summary, we recommend at least a half page, but not more than 2 pages. If it goes over 2 pages, observation is a lot of lenders don't bother to read it and won't even get into the meat of the business. It's supposed to be a summary. You have the option. to sign up and go with simple steps for starting your business series. It's free. We can do one-on-one mentoring. It's available in a webinar series at score.org. It also comes with lesson material and several case studies for you to look at. If you think you're not ready, you're probably right. Defer your decision for now, but don't give up on your dream. We've had people come in to talk to us. I had one young individual came in and said, I'm not quite sure what I want to do, but I need help. And we work with them. Put your ideas down on paper, list the pros and cons, and also compare those with what skills, what business interests you have, and see which ones appeal to you. You can go ahead and do a simple one-page business plan with financials, and it'll give you an indication of whether you think you can make a profit or not. If it looks good, you've pretty much done your feasibility analysis, and you can start working towards a business plan. Do the business plan on paper before you commit the funds, before you sign lease agreements, things like that. The point being that, well, I had a client come to one of our business plan workshops 5 years ago. She walked up and she says, it's all well and good. I recognize I need a business plan, but here's my menu and the cafe is opening tomorrow. I wish they had done a business plan. They took all their personal savings and invested in the business. And then when they had some problems, they didn't have a business plan to go over and talk to a lender and say, we need a little bit more money to keep going. Unfortunately, that shop has changed hands. If you're already in business, come in and talk to us about your options. How can you improve the business? Maybe it does a little brainstorming as to what markets would your product appeal to. We're into the tail end of it. We've covered section 1, startup basics. Section 2 talks about your business concept. 3 has to do with marketing your business concept and seeing that if you've got customers, if you can make it pricing and everything work for you. Section 4, oh, by the way, marketing is probably the easiest place to start, because if you have a product and you think it's going to price out at such and such, you estimate what your sales are. Then you turn around and you start putting together what do you think you would have expenses in order to accomplish it. When you get done, down to the bottom, if it's positive, take a look back, see if it looks good, then keep going. If it doesn't look good, it's time to tweak some of your thoughts as to, can I do something a little different? Can I appeal to a different market? Financial projections are just that. They are your cash flow, your profit and loss statement, and your balance sheet. And I don't have time to get into them, but they're all important documents. And if you have a problem with them, then please consider working with a mentor towards getting it. We have 3 CPAs and a couple bankers on our staff. Be glad to work with you on that. Then section 5 gets into funding sources, next steps. We've got lots more information on that. Again, you can use this, or just go to score.org and look at the startup page. There's links to handouts, workshop materials, and also additional resources.
Ron, I'm gonna hurry you up. we're out of time, and that's been so insightful and given people a really good concept of all the great resources that are available to them. Thank you very much. I did have a question that was asked. Do you or the Kansas Chamber, do you know of anybody that helps a nonprofit organization apply for and get their 501c3?
Yes. I'll have to look it up, and if that individual would send me an email, ronald.lunsford@scorevolunteer.org. I'll be glad to get Cindy Miles' organization there. You can Google Kansas nonprofit, and it'll pop up kansasnonprofit.org, and they offer workshops. They just had a 3-day conference last week. They work with people. Also, you can use Network Kansas to look to see at what educational is available. And if you want to take a morning class on sales tax, they offer it about every other month. If you're looking for information on just about anything, they're very helpful. Nancy?
So, Ron, while you've been talking, your right-hand man, Michael, from the SBA, has been giving lots of good links. And for those of you that missed the coaching session, if you will go to the top right-hand of your Zoom box and see that ellipse, you can save the chat from this session so that you can get all those good tips and links. Anybody else have a question that you haven't already asked?
We're here to help. Give us a call.
Great. Thank you. And so I want to open it up for sharing. I'll wet the pump while you're thinking. We have 2 things. We have a grant workshop this week that I think is pretty much filled. But if you want that one, I can give you that as well. But we are offering one in November on November. See, let me get this in everyone's. This is the registration for a November 15th and 16th grant workshop. They're all online now. It's November 15th and 16th from 1:30 to 4:30. They cost $60, and I gave you the sign-up link. And then Elizabeth Berger from Sunflower Foundation asked me to tell you that they have 2 grant opportunities that are open right now. There is a request for proposals for trail builders, and those grants will provide funding to improve the health and well-being of Kansans by supporting the development of public trails. Communities of all sizes are invited to apply, but priority will be given to underserved areas with no existing trails. And secondly, another grant opportunity for trail champions. This program is designed for community teams ready to take the next step in enhancing the value of their existing trails. The cohort will take place January through April, and the teams will have access to high-level expertise, technical assistance, and coaching around topics such as economic impact analysis and trail user evaluations. And both of those submissions are due November 9th, Tuesday, November 9th. And I'll put that into the chat for more information. Do we have anybody else that wants to share?
Nancy, I'll repeat myself. If you've got the chat window open and if you look down to the bottom, it says 2 and it says everything or Nancy Daniels. Over at the end are 3 little dots. Click on those 3 dots. The top item should be Save Chat. That will save the chat bar into a text file in your documents. And Zoom is a sub file, and then this one would be in a file all by itself. it's an easy way to capture some of the information. Also, I had a client last week asking for a grant to start a for-profit business, and we're doing some, I guess, research at this point to see how many of those are available. So,
Very good. Okay, next month we will hear from Stanley Adams, the director of the broadband, of the Office of Broadband Development. He's going to tell us about their efforts and their successes in improving connectivity for thousands of Kansans, helping students, farmers, and local economies thrive. Thank you so much for joining us today. I always like to leave you with a thought for today, and our thought for today comes from Nelson Mandela. When a boat comes upon a winding river, slow down and the river becomes straight. Thanks for joining us and create a great day.